Hello guys, this is just going to be a quick video on my TED Talk for school. It's about how to overcome the fear of failure. And this is just going to be a practice before I actually do it in class today. So with that being said, let's go. Raise your hand if you know who Michael Jordan is. He famously said this quote: "I missed over 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I failed over and over again in my life. That is why I succeed." He became one of the best basketball players, not because he was perfect, but because he learned from his failures. Now I have my own personal version of that story. This is a Rubik's Cube, and I was hesitant to solve it in front of you guys at first because what if I mess up or make a mistake? That feeling is what we're going to talk about today. So make sure to pass it around and scramble it up. We'll get back to it at the end of the presentation. I'm scrambling up right now, just notice you. So, why are we scared of failing? The underlying reason is social pressure. When we're young, the people around us might cheer or clap if we get something right. However, if we get something wrong, they correct us, and sometimes not in a very nice way. And as we grow up, we tend to associate the feeling of being corrected with a negative feeling, even though we learn from our mistakes. 82% of students at DVC are afraid of failing because of some sort of social pressure. This is an extensive problem because it stunts our growth. Pressure causes us to sweep our mistakes under the rug and not analyze them honestly to see what we can do better next time. This leads to us not learning from our mistakes. Compared to a path you don't take, that path might be harder to traverse and get through, but it ultimately takes you where you want to go. Evading failures can also be a sign of low self-esteem. Not trying means you don't have enough confidence in yourself to get things right. And it may start off as a one-off event, but if you don't put it in check, it evolves into low self-confidence. These people are in a dangerous mental state because they have a negative outlook on themselves. Creativity and curiosity are killed when you're too afraid of making mistakes. A.D. Scrimger says, "It's difficult coming up with your best creative work when your mind is too preoccupied with the fear of failing. Maybe the best antidote is to think more and create less, or think less and create more." Creativity and curiosity flourish when we are allowed to try new things and think outside the box. And this allows us to influence the world in our own unique way and find new connections. However, if you're too scared of getting things wrong, you lose that. So, how can we solve this problem? I present to you this 3-step solution that we can use when we're in between staying put and trying. The steps are to face the worst, flip the mindset, and celebrate progress. Alright. Step 1, face the worst. When I was learning how to swim, I couldn't get over the transition from kickboard to freestyle swimming. It was because I was too afraid of drowning. When I thought about the worst case scenario a little bit more, I realized it wasn't as bad as I actually thought. My friends were there to help and support me, and there's a lifeguard in case we couldn't get to the other side of the pool. With that, I was able to finally learn how to swim. Our minds usually think of the worst situations imaginable to protect us, but we need to realize it's usually not that bad. Step 2 is to flip the mindset. Instead of thinking, what can I lose by failing, think of what we can gain by failing. When we think about the positives rather than the negatives, we're more likely to try. It's like an expensive item that you really want. At first, it might be sad that you spent a lot of money and time getting it, but in return, it brings you happiness and makes your life better. Same with mistakes. Mistakes, you could be upset or down that you made one at first, but once you improve and get better, it makes you much more content. The last step in step 3 is to celebrate progress. Sometimes making mistakes can be hard, so celebrating your progress is a good way to boost your confidence. So with this 3-step process in mind, how will it affect us? Margie Worrell is a professor in human development, and she says, examine the lives of the most successful people, and you realize they never let a mistake go to waste. To perform at your full potential, we need to be able to learn and adapt. The most successful people aren't always the most gifted, but they continuously seek to improve. And we could become like them once we have the courage to fail. I know even with the right mindset, social judgment still makes it really hard to make mistakes in front of other people. So one thing we can do from the outside looking in is to support people making mistakes and cheer them on, rather than putting them down or laughing, because we all have our bad moments. Okay, so I'm gonna get the cue back. Okay, so I'm still a little bit hesitant about if I make a mistake or not while solving this. So let's go over the 3-step process one more time to ensure that my mindset is in the correct place. So first, what is the worst case scenario? The worst case scenario is I make a mistake and it takes me longer to solve it, but I think that's okay because it still fits the theme of my presentation. Step 2 is to flip my mindset. So what can I gain by failing? I can gain critical thinking skills that I can use whenever things don't go according to plan. I'm also learning presentation skills that are important in the future. And lastly, celebrate progress. I already have something to celebrate, which is I wrote and delivered my first TED Talk. So with all that being said, let's go. So with the courage to fail, we can solve any problem that comes our way. So if you make a mistake, remember, it's not the end, it's the beginning. Thank you for listening to my presentation. And question for the comments, why is thank you misspelled? Thank you for listening.